again, again and again and again, once more and more like the scream of birth and rebirth, our cosmos undergoes eternally, as all matter dies and re-dies and re-dies and dies again. Noise is king. How we are all born into the world screaming, and those unable to produce it are made to or die. Realize that the need to manipulate sound is not to render it harmonious. It is to tap and siphon an experienced expression of infinity. Noise is king. Abandon all control. Given to the truth of the world, immaterial. Lose all sense of meaning. Noise is king.
Hi there, this is a little explanation of the different component sounds that I used in order to make my third composition. So the first sounds heard are that of sort of the low-end pulse. I used a metal fence sign with a tiny little bit of distortion and filtering in order to create a low bass end, send it through the main reverb of the project. And I also have this opening gas stove of hearing like the flame start, the pilot light, going through a resonator and a couple EQs in order to establish a central pulse to the entire project. So that's those two. Then after that I have two metal scraping sounds panned left and right. The first one is the sound of apple grating, which is running through a pitch shifter. in a separate chain. And that's triggered through a MIDI clip so that it comes back at odd times. Same thing with the knife straightening. Slightly less frequent when it's heard. And then that's going through spectral delays. And they're both sending to the main reverb channel of the project as well. Then the core basis of the constant noise throughout the composition is one of my composite sounds of a bunch of different rattling things. Dice shakes, pickup sticks, the skateboard wheel, and the plates, the weird odd copper plates. And those are sent through 3 separate audio chains that separate the sound into low, middle, and high, so that I get different kinds of distortion on each. The middle one is the main one to be heard. High, very, very quiet, but adds a bit of character to it. And then the low end is actually going through an LFO that's randomized and then gated. So you only hear it come as like these low end blips when it's loud enough. And that gives it a bit more random character. All of those are then going through a bit crusher. So that's the main group heard throughout. And then I also have a piece of outboard gear that sort of joins them. You can see me actively playing with this during the composition. It's a preamp pedal that I had running at full max everything, which was creating sort of a noise pulse. I don't have it connected right now because after tearing down, I realized that the AC adapter connected to it had molten because it was driving way too much voltage for way too long. So that's outside now. Punk rock, very cool. Can't do the composition again until I figure out how to run this thing with safer power. The other components are the glass pinging sound, which is run through a whole bunch of effects that I drive like more and more further as the piece goes on. So initially it's pretty clean, and then we add just a ton of vibrato is the main effect. Very fun. Most of the sounds in that main group are sidechained to the synth patch I have running on my Polybrute, which is mainly just white noise and pink noise alternating with a randomized LFO. So that sounds like this. And what I was lucky to find while playing around with it is this synth is made to alternate between 2 different patches through like a morph knob, which is by default assigned to this pad over here. So anytime I would touch this pad, it would essentially go straight back to the initial saw wave setting as opposed to the white noise. So which worked really well to add more pitch contour to the piece while retaining it as noise instead of music in my mind, which I thought was a lot of fun. Finally, my voice was running through about 4 layers of vocoders when I was speaking, and then all of that was filtered down the middle in order to create an interesting effect. So that sounds like this. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Finally, all of those sounds were being run through 2 layers of reverbs. First, a plate in order to give them sustain, and then secondly, a big, massive, like convolution reverb style thing. That's essentially a series of delays as opposed to just one big reverb. And that's pretty much the project.